I'm going live. How do I find you? Okay. I'm live. Hello, Jen. Welcome, Amy. Welcome in. Hello, Lindsay. Walks with Dragon. Hello. Hi, Amy. Good to see you. I'm so excited you guys are all here. Hello, Doll's House. I see you. Red Wagon. Hello. Heather's going to be joining us in just a minute. We're actually in the same place. We're in our wellness center. As you can see, I am in the treatment room. I am in the wellness center. Heather's in the front room, the French room. Hello, Halas. Halas. I'm excited too. I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to telling you guys the story and answering your questions and talking about how things have been for us in our journey, all the fun stuff. I like to answer questions. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for today. I'm going to move this just a little bit so I can get... Oh, there we go. That's better. That's better. All right, so she's going to join us in just a minute, and we will start talking about things and how things are going. I appreciate everybody. Hi, it's not at 9 a.m. How exciting, right? So exciting. I'm excited to tell you my story. It's been a fun journey. It's been a fun journey. Had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but it's been a good one. It's been a good one. I'm excited to do this. Once Heather, I don't know what she's getting herself all set up. And once thank you. I've been outside a lot. This is one of the best parts about working for yourself, right?
Here she is. Oh my gosh, hi.
Oh my gosh, hi. I'm going to shut the door because I can hear you.
Did you hear me? I hear you too. It's too funny. We have it's not a very soundproof, damn, you don't have to slam it. No, I'm kidding.
Listen, Linda. Listen.
Listen, Linda. Listen to me. Listen. So, I don't know who you have on your end. Every time I say that, you cackle. I love it. So, if you guys don't know, I know you guys hear me talk about her all the time, but this is Erin Brown. This is my best friend and my business partner. Man, have we had a really, really cool journey together, in my opinion. Between the way that from where we were when we both met, as to where, hey, squirrely squirrel, as to where we are now. Would you agree?
Very much, very much. And just a quick introduction. This is Heather, aka Healing Me Softly, aka Spicy Squirrel. Heather is my best friend, my business partner. She's also my twin flame, which is a big part of our relationship. Yeah, that's good. In my live, I've got Red Wagon is over here. She's going to be going back and forth. Amy Angelique, B424 is over here. Becky Thomas, Janelle, and I'm going to say this wrong. It's Hailz. Haley's? Yeah, so Heather and I thought it might be fun to talk to you guys about our twin flame relationship and how it feels, what it's like, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around the idea of a twin flame relationship, that it has to be romantic and it has to be, have that opposite sex romantic attraction, and it doesn't. That's not how it has to be. Twin flames, the intention behind a twin flame is, as I understand it, is not for romantic purposes necessarily, while it can be part of it. But the purpose of a twin flame relationship, the way it was explained to me through multiple sources, was to encourage exponential growth in this life experience. So your soul, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, instead of sending one version forward, it sends two or more versions forward, with the idea that each of these versions are opposites, and so they trigger each other and they push forward exponential growth, kind of like this. So that's how I came to understand twin flames. And Heather was the one who actually figured it out. Do you remember, Heather? We were sitting in the parking lot.
Yeah, we were in a car sitting there going like, so the funny thing, when she said the word trigger, I don't know if you guys have heard me say this before. I trigger the shit. Thank you, Kiso. Out of Erin, like since the day we met. It's gotten a lot better. But and then she triggered me too, but we triggered each other in very, very different ways. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, very much. Hey, Poker Face. What's going on, girlfriend?
Welcome in, everybody. Thank you guys so much for the gifts and the taps. If you are just coming in, again, this is Erin Brown, my best friend and my business partner. We are the co-founders and the co-owners of the Conscious Chrysalis Wellness Center located in the Chicago suburbs. Hey, Pagan. We want to tell them how we met, and then we'll get into all the fun nitty-gritty. It is the funniest story. And when she said it's a platonic relationship, it is a platonic relationship. I do not eat her cooter biscuit. She does not eat my cooter biscuit. I am, what's up, Chris? I am, however, slightly obsessed with the girl's butt. The girl's got a great ass on her. But did you see her turn red? I'm sorry. She every time I say that, she's like, "Stop it." But that is the truth. We are literally, there's only you've seen that, yeah. Oh Lord, there's only a few people in my life that I am comfortable with. And again, this goes back to the inner child type thing, where that's right. Admiring isn't indulging. That's right, Mama. We'll fist bump. Right? I ain't lying though. Poker Face says she ain't lying though. We all love Erin's booty. Where I don't even know. See, I'm all on Erin's ass now, and I totally forgot what I was talking
She
about.
sends pictures of my butt to my husband. Let's just say that. Well, I'll be bending over to do something, and she'll take a picture of my booty and send it to my husband.
I do every chance I get. Every chance I get. We were in Florida at the beach. She was laying down on her tummy, and I was like, "Chat." Took a picture of her butt and sent it right to him. I sure did. If we were any closer, we would be conjoined twins. Thank you for saying that. Now I'm back. Thank you. So, what I was saying with inner child nourishment, there's not a lot of people that I allow myself to fully get vulnerable with, right? And I do believe that this has something to do with her being my twin flame, and she also has a very, very nurturing soul. So much to the point that we will come in, and this couch that I'm sitting on, either one of us at any given time, good evening, we'll be laying down and we'll just come lay like almost on each other. Not in a weird, creepy, or a sexual way whatsoever, but just he does appreciate
It's comforting.
It's very comforting. So like if I'm ever having a bad day, I will go and I'll just put my head on her shoulder or on her lap and vice versa. And again, this is completely and 100% platonic, but there's something I think within that connection of one, the closeness of our friendship, and then two, the being a twin flame, there was a natural, immediate comfort between the two of us from the day that we met. So I'm going to let Erin start to tell the story about the day that we met, because it's an absolutely fascinating and hysterical story.
Yeah, Erica, I just want to say we share our space very well together. And Messy, as far as having a friend like that one day, you know what? You're going to have plenty of friends like this. You have to, I think for me, a lot of it was being open to the idea of being vulnerable with someone was a big part of it. So that's a big part. Hey, Dirty Rooster just hopped in.
Oh my gosh, the
Oh
Dirty
my goodness,
Rooster.
it's like the coolest person ever. Celebrity alert!
Oh my God.
You almost sounded like a chicken, like, oh my God!
The cock. I'm back.
All right, so the story of how we met. So my awakening happened in 2020, to make a long story short, and it was a tough one because I was very heavily rooted in science, nurse for 25 years. I was very into research and studies and medicine and all the stuffs, right? So my awakening was a hard left turn for me. It was like getting a 2x4 to the forehead. And I went through several weeks, months of not knowing what to do and how to help myself. And it was in January that I had my awakening. And then at what month? It was June?
We met in August.
In
August 15th.
August. So that was in January. In August, my friend Rachel said, hey, there's a metaphysical fair in town. Why don't we go and see if you can get some answers to these questions that are going on? I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So we go, and when you walk into this place, it was very crowded. There was a lot of vendors there. There was this 2 separate rooms, and in one room there was like a horseshoe shape with tables and stuff. And we walk in, I'm kind of walking around. I was feeling very overwhelmed. And we walk into the room with the horseshoe shape, and I kid you not, like, I can't explain this to you. It was like a spotlight was on Heather, and she was not, like, I didn't walk in next to her. She was all the way across the room on the other side. And I walked in, and I looked at Rachel, and I go, I have to go talk to her. And she's like, do you know her? And I said, no, but I need to go talk to her. And she goes, well, that you seem like a stalker. Let's not do that. And I was like, no, I have to go talk to her. And I like pushed my way through the crowd. I get to the table, and she was selling malas. And she was busy. Like she had like 5 or 6 people there and she's selling stuff and talking to people. And I'm doing everything I can to get her attention. And at the time I was working on trying to do some children's photography. And because I was thinking of anything to talk to her, I just reached up and I go, do you have kids? And she just looked at me and she was like, yes. And I go, great. I'm a photographer. I want to take pictures of them. Here's my card. And I like shoved it at her. And I'm sure she was like, right, you know, oh, thank you, took the card. And then I just kept standing there and I'm like, so does this happen to you? And does this happen to you? And like, I'm like trying to talk to her while she's talking to all these people. And I was like, I really think you can teach me how to do this. I think you can show me. And she's like, well, maybe we can learn together, which was such a nice thing to say. And at the time I was like, no, you have to teach me everything. So she was very, very nice. And she goes, well, here's my number. Text me and we'll talk. And I was like, okay. So I walk away, literally not even 50 feet away. And I sit down on this, they have these bleachers set up because there were people giving these talks. There's this woman giving this talk and I sit down on the bleacher, literally like in the middle of her talk. I just walk in and sit down and I turn and I'm like staring over at her like this. And as soon as she was alone on the table, I picked up my phone and I texted her. I'm like, I think we really need to talk. We really need to get together. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how her reaction was, but she was very kind. And she's like, okay, well, do you want to meet for coffee or something? And not knowing her at all, I'm like, yes, right now. And she's like, how about a few days or whatever? So we picked a day, we picked a place and we met for coffee. And then, I mean, it was a little awkward at first, of course. But then after that, once we started talking, it was like an explosion of creativity that I could not explain to you. Hello, Mika. Welcome in. She was at the time working on trying to open her own place. And I started talking about how I was doing energy. And she's like, well, maybe you can come do energy there. And I was like, yes, maybe I can come do energy there. And then we just started talking. And then it's turned into, I was going driving an hour and 11 minutes, just FYI. Heather's house to my house is exactly 1 hour and 11 minutes, just FYI, everybody. So I was driving to her house like every day because I wanted to hang out with her. And I was like, we're sitting in her kitchen and we're coming up with all these ideas. And then we were, whoa, we should have a business together. And then it just took off. That was August. My dad passed away in September and I was gone for the whole month of September. I was in Florida, like closing up his estates and stuff. And I get back in October and we opened this business in December, the beginning of December. It was like a month from when I got back. We found a place, signed a lease, got ready, and then opened the store. And it was like boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. And Heather says it all the time. She says, people always want to say that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this business. But this business for us, it just happened. It came together so incredibly naturally and so easily that it was impossible to get too caught up in the idea of we have to work so hard. And for me, at least, I can't speak for Heather, but for me, at least, coming in and getting ready to open this place was so much fun. I looked forward to it every day. And so it was not work. And we come in and it very smoothly transitioned into this business. This is the treatment room that I'm in right now. I have turned off some of the lights, but you can kind of see, like we do our energy work in here. It's a very peaceful place. We have all kinds of stuff. But it's kind of like marrying someone you don't know. When you start a business with someone you don't know very well. And it took a lot of adjustment and learning, especially on my end. Heather has been awake her whole life. I have not. And so these experiences are all incredibly new to me. You know, 90-day business partner, exactly right. 90-day business partner. And Dom, this room, Dom says that's the room I want to see. I'm telling you, Dom. Come on over. We got an appointment for you with your name on it.
Right. We're waiting. What happened to April, May, brother? It's June.
Yeah, right? What happened to April, May? No, don't give up, Kenzie. There's no need to give up. It's about looking for someone to talk to, just like what you said, Kenzie. You don't need to give up. Look for someone to talk to. Go to the crystal stores near you. Go to the energy practitioners near you. Step outside of your comfort zone. If I had not stepped outside of my comfort zone and gone to talk to Heather, this would not be here. This would not be here. It took me stepping way out of my comfort zone to make this happen. And, you know, the universe is like that. You ask for a cake and the universe says, great, here's all the ingredients. Everybody gets mad because they're like, but I asked for a cake. But the universe is saying, well, I gave you all the ingredients so you can make the cake you want instead of the cake I think you want. So it's a lot about actionable steps, stepping out of your comfort zone to do those things. That is the only way to grow. If you stay in your comfort zone, you have no room to grow. It's only by stretching that comfort zone that you can take up the space that you make in its absence.
And I just want to, like, if you guys on my side, I want to make sure that you heard what she said, that the universe is going to hand you the ingredients to make your own cake rather than handing you a cake that they think that they need for you. As simple as that is that analogy is, that is a very, very powerful analogy, because how much pride do you get if somebody comes in and you're like, oh, I want a car, and somebody just gives you a car. Are you going to be excited that you have a car? Absolutely. But how much better are you going to feel when you say that you chose and picked out and purchased the car that you actually want for yourself? There's so much power in that I got all these ingredients and I made it exactly how I wanted. They called for 4 teaspoons of sugar. I don't really like sugar that much, so I'm going to go ahead and put 2.5 instead of the 4. And you customize it for yourself, but ultimately you have to take what you can when they give you those ingredients and do it with action and purpose and everything and all that you do. Otherwise, you may as well just walk around and get cakes handed to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Mika, you're 100% right. You got to put the work in. You got to work for it. You have to bake the cake. You have to make actionable steps in your life. You can't just sit back and wait. I mean, you could, but you might be waiting for a long time. I thought you were going to whisper a secret. I was like, what?
Noodles.
You can't just sit back. You have to take those actionable steps, and stepping outside your comfort zone is the best way to do it. As uncomfortable as it is truly the best way. And some of the most profound growth I personally have experienced has come as a result of stepping outside of my comfort zone. Reading cards online, reading cards on here was hella uncomfortable for me for a while.
She wasn't even into cards when we met.
Yes.
That's how called she was to that as well. That's why just another great example. She didn't even touch cards when we met.
Yeah. Cherry says, do you suggest a person learn Reiki first? So for me, I learned Reiki first because when my awakening happened, I am an energy channel. And when my awakening happened, my energy just exploded. And I was experiencing so much in my body that I could not control, and stuff happening outside of me. The lights were flickering. My car was freaking out. My cell phone literally shocked me in my ears, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I learned Reiki because I had a Reiki session and it calmed my energy down so much. My thought was, well, if I can figure out how to do this myself, then I can work on my own energy. And that's how I started. I think it's unique to everybody. For me, Reiki was a great starting point, but once I learned the basics of it, I don't necessarily use that. I use the basics, but I don't use a lot of the teachings that they have, because when I started doing Reiki on other people, I noticed it wasn't Reiki. It didn't feel like Reiki to me. I felt like other energies, and I didn't feel right calling it Reiki when I wasn't sticking to the rules. You know what a way?
Monique over here asked what was my experience a while ago, and I'm sorry, Monique, I'm just now catching up. I didn't want to cut her off. When I met her, like she said, at that expo, I was very, very busy. I'm not to brag, but I do make very beautiful malas. They're all, I do them under a meditative state, and they're guided, and they come out, they're beautiful. It's something that I was very, very proud of doing, and that was my first spiritual expo that I had done. These expos, by the way, are huge. So when she tells you that she saw me from across the room, she's not talking like across the room. It's like we're talking like a half a football field away is how big this place is. When she came, I'll be very, thank you, Heather. I was overwhelmed, right? Because I did have a bunch of people, and she was very, very sweet. Thank you so much, Tiff. She was very, very sweet and very interested in talking to me. And I wanted to talk to her. Hey, Nick, welcome in. Because I am outgoing, and, anytime you work at those expos, you want to entertain and you want to talk to people. And so I was, talking to her. She gave me when she did that, like, here's my card. She gave me the card, and I threw it in my crystal Bible that I use. To this day, I have not, because it's sentimental to me, I have not taken that business card out of that book. It still remains in that book with all the Post-it notes of stickers and stuff like that too. I did think, and she knows this, that she came on a little heavy. Thank you for my hand heart, where I was almost just like, I don't know if she's trying to like sniff my panties or the way that she very much so flattered me when she said, I need you to teach me stuff. And I was like, well, maybe we can learn together. What's up, Wendy? Because I still am constantly learning and evolving myself. And at that point, it's like,
I got the hands.
I know, I figured that's why I was like, let me give it back. I didn't know anything about her when we were started to talk. So I didn't know what I could help her with or what I couldn't help her with. Thank you so much, Sarah. I went along with it. I gave her my business card when she did text me and she wanted to meet. I was a little apprehensive, right? Because of how like heavy she had come on. Especially when she told me that she was willing to drive the whole hour and 11 minutes because my kids were younger 2.5 years ago. Sorry, I just got a big wiener. Forgive me. Tiny. Thank you for my squishy. And so I was like, wow, like she's going to drive all this way. But again, being who I am, I was like, okay, like I want to help people. And when someone says like, maybe you can help me, I can't help myself, but to be like, okay, let's go. So we did. It was about 3 days later and we met up to, thank you, Pumpkin. We met a few days later at a restaurant very, very close to my house.
Dom in your room.
No, that it's Pumpkin. She's always throwing her weens at me. Thank you, Michaela, for my squishy. So we had coffee and we started, the first probably like half hour was just like, so what'd you think about the expo? Like it was a little bit awkward, but the more we started to talk and I was trying to open my own business. And this is a really important part of our story. I was trying to open my own business and I was having the hardest time getting licensing, permits. I had the people were asking me questions that I wouldn't know the answers to, that they needed to get it from the landlord. I mean, it was ridiculous how challenging it was to get this business. And I was irritated, but I now understand why. Now that we actually own this business, I would not have been able to do it on my own. And I am humble and modest enough to say I would have failed that business big time. The divine had their eyes on me and cut it and made that shit happen for a very, very intentional reason, because I needed to meet her first. So like she said, after we met, she was talking about energy and I brought her back to my house, not like that, don't be nasty. And we sat on my deck and she was like talking about energy and she's like, can I just try to because she literally, when she went through her awakening, I want you to understand that she was so overwhelmed with the amount of energy surge, and I use that word strongly. She was receiving energy surges through her body to the point that she would shake. And she would be so restless and antsy that she looked like she had an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like a synthetic issue. And yeah, she was like, she really did. And so when she was like, I just got to do something to get rid of this energy. And I'm not even kidding you. And I'm not energetically very sensitive to a lot of people. But as soon as she put her hands over the crown of my head, I immediately felt the static. It was the strongest energetic connection that I have never felt that since that first day. I've never felt it again from anybody. And it was literally like, oh my gosh, so much to the point that it put me in la la land. Again, another thing that I have not been able to experience through any energy work or meditation since. And I was literally like out. I was out and she did whatever she did. Then she was able to human again. She stopped twitching and shit. It took me a good, I'd say, hour to come fully back from from whatever it is that she did. The cool thing is that she had no idea what she was doing at the time either. She was like, just let me touch you. You know what I mean? It was really, really cool. And then the rest, like she said, her dad passed away. And, oh, my pretty princess.
Thank you.
Question for both of you. All the energy y'all give out to people, how do you ladies recharge? Meditation.
Every single day without fail, I meditate. If I don't, I feel very off. I also ground a lot.
with giving out the energy too, and I just to explain that a little bit deeper too, we are both energy channels. So oftentimes, like the energy that we pull in and that we use is given to us. So we're actually kind of just the vessel, right? So divine gives it to us. It comes in here. We do whatever it is that we need to do. Both of us use our hands a lot with our energy, push and pull. And then afterwards, we do a disconnect. And then it's, don't get me wrong, both of us, okay, Aaron does, we both do different things with energy. After so many throughout the day, it absolutely takes a toll on my body, my physical body, and my emotional state eventually. Would you say yours is the same?
Yeah, I call them my fold up days. If I don't take enough time for myself, I will have a day, and my mods can tell you, I'll message them in the morning. Today's not the day. I'm not going live. And on those days, I literally don't get off the couch. I do whatever I need to do to take care of myself. I watch all my bad TV shows and I eat junk food, and I get myself feeling more connected. And usually by the next day, I'm good. Real quick, I want to answer a couple questions I saw on here. I got to go back a little bit. Sorry, I'm not ignoring your comments, I swear. I just don't want to interrupt Heather when she's talking. So Hallis had asked me if it was a Kundalini awakening or spiritual awakening or both. So I had a spiritual awakening first. My Kundalini awakening was, I don't remember exactly how long after, but at least a year after my initial awakening. And it came after a lot of work, and it was very, very clear that it was a Kundalini awakening. For me, I was in meditation. I was laying flat on the ground, and I started feeling these constricting bands. It started in my root around my hips, and it got really tight, like it squeezed like this, and then it released, and then it moved up to the next one, and it squeezed and released and moved up, and it did that all the way up. It did not do that on my throat. I felt it in the heart space, but I didn't feel it here or here. So I don't know if that's just because it's a sensitive area or what, but I didn't feel it there. But that was my Kundalini awakening.
And
So
just a side note on that, that's very typical. You do almost always go through an awakening before you go through a Kundalini because the awakening prepares you for your Kundalini.
yes, thankfully. And then Walks with Dragons says, Reiki changed my life and now I offer it to pets. I think that's great. I have done Reiki on animals before and I've seen it work. You know what I'm saying? The other question I got was, where to go? I got to find it. Do I bubble myself with Reiki? So no, I don't bubble myself with Reiki, but I do a protection around myself. Before I do any energetic services, when I'm connecting with the client, my first step is to connect myself and protect myself. The way the energy works for me, the best description I can give you is like a straw, comes in and goes out. I'm not holding on to any of the energy I'm receiving. The issue with depletion comes from card reading for me more than energy, because it takes more energy on my end to do that. And then Amy wants to know, how do you get to the Kundalini? You don't want to open your Kundalini unless it's ready. If you do the work, it will eventually open on its own. Spiritual psychosis is a real freaking thing, and it will jack you up. And if you are trying to force awakenings or openings in your energy before you are ready, you can go into spiritual psychosis, and it is not good. Heather and I had a client that did that. No matter what we told them, they were absolutely insistent that they were going to do things their way, and they skipped a bunch of stuff, and they ended up in psychosis, and I believe they ended up in a mental institution for a while to try to get themselves back together because they skipped everything. Spiritual bypassing is not okay. You have to go through each and every one of the steps, and you have to allow yourself to heal. The only way that you can allow yourself to heal is by addressing how you feel. You have to feel it to heal it. Messy, you know what? That's a great idea. Vanessa says she would like a Professor Brown on a Kundalini. I think that's a great idea. I'll put it on the list of things to write one on. Vogel crystals. I don't know what a Vogel crystal is. Heather, can you tell them about this necklace?
Yes. So this is actually it's called the Trinity. I got these for myself and for Aaron. This was created and designed by Jim I Designs. He is a designer in Ohio. And he actually designed this under meditation, which is really, really cool. He handcrafts each piece by himself. What it has in it, it has yellow citrine, peridot, and blue topaz in it, as well as a copper field right here, and it's double-sided. The copper is 2 plates on each side with sterling silver metal. The reason why this is incredibly powerful is that each one of the crystals do different things, and then this copper is a generator too, as well as a protector. You will see both of our necklaces. I don't know if you could tell.
Yeah, on the back.
Mine is ridiculously filthy. It's dirty. These usually are, hers is much cleaner than mine, but I also have not taken mine off in 5 years. I literally take it off to shower. I don't take it off to shower or anything. I take it off every once in a while. If like it starts to irritate me, that means it needs to be cleaned and recharged, and I'll take it off to put it on, feel it to heal it. That's right. I'll put it on selenite to charge, and then I put it back on, and I did lose it. Swirly squirrel, thank you for pointing that out. I'm kidding. But here's the thing about this piece, you bond with it. When you first bond with your piece, when you get it, and Erin will have to tell you, because I think she said it was the same thing. She was incredibly thirsty. She could not get, we couldn't get it. You can't get enough water in your body. And then you are hyper, and then you're exhausted, and really did something physical until you bond with it. And so much to the point that when I don't have it on, which is why I don't take it off, I feel off. I feel incredibly, incredibly off. And like Squirrel said, I did go without it for a day and a half before because my jump ring broke and I forgot it, and I was off the whole next day. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So whether you are a believer in that or not, it's really, really powerful. If you guys are interested in these, you can send me a DM and I can try to. You saw it, Monique. Yeah, it was an energetic recalibration, big time. I can message. They are about $1,000. Not gonna lie. But I can see if I have a bunch of people. Thank you for the follow, Gen X. If I have a bunch of people that are interested, maybe I can get the designer to give us a deal or something like that.
Hey, I got Jago Blue over here in the room.
What's up, Jake?
And
if anybody on my side has any questions, feel free to ask away, okay?
And Vanessa's saying she might have to make herself one. She's pretty crafty. I'm excited to see it. I would love to see it.
Yes, I would love to.
How do we follow us? So if you, there should be a plus or something. If you click our picture up, whoever, you're in my room, obviously. So if you click my picture, there should be a follow thing on there that you can follow.
Yes, and if you're in my room and you want to, thank you for the gifts, and hey Rocker Babe, and you want to follow Erin, if you click on her picture, a small box will pop up. What's up, Jessa? A small box will pop up, and you'll be able to follow Creator.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is the element of being triggered that is involved with the twin flame.
Grab your popcorn, kids.
So part of the reason twin flame relationships are so productive and the part of the process of twin flames is you come forward with an opposite version of you to trigger the deepest parts of you that need healing. And the way it was shown to me, both in meditation and from Dolores Cannon also says this in her work, that the idea is you have some important lessons that need to get done in this work, in this lifetime. It could be tying up some loose karmic ends or whatever it is, you need to get them done. So you come forward with a twin flame or more than one twin flame. And as you interact with this twin flame, you are exponentially pushing each other forward faster than you can go on your own because the twin will trigger you a lot. Heather and I... A lot. Heather and I are very, very, very complementary. We are opposites. All the way down to the food we like, the music we listen to, the clothes our hair, she wears makeup, I don't, everything is very, very opposite for us. And so you can imagine trying to work together all the time, what that was like at first. And Heather is very quiet. She, especially at the beginning, didn't share a lot. She was very reserved and all this sort of stuff. And we had fun and stuff, but I'm used to people just volunteering information. And the triggers that she pulled in me, there's so many I can't even name. Each time, right? Each time she would pull a trigger, it was an opportunity for me to say, okay, because I understand my trigger's my problem. It's not her job to tiptoe around all the eggshells I have dropped on the floor. It is my job to recognize when I'm being triggered and try to figure out why I'm being triggered so that I can heal that. So every time I was triggered, for the first year, I'd say I was not paying attention to this. I was just trigger. And then I don't know what happened. I don't remember now what happened, but I had a conversation with myself very intentionally in my car. And I was like, okay, are we friends with Heather or are we not friends with Heather? Because I don't know what's going on with Heather. And maybe we should talk to Heather. Like, I had this whole back and forth with myself and came in and had a conversation with her the next day about this. And it changed everything. But it also gave me the perspective of I need to stop being so in myself about things. My triggers are my problem. And if she triggers me on, like, say, for example, this is not an issue. It has never been an issue. But let's just say Heather calls off all the time. She calls me all the time and says, I can't come. If that starts to trigger me, it's my responsibility to have a responsible and meaningful conversation with her where I express how I feel without accusing her or yelling at her or anything. And you can do that by starting your phrase with, hey, Heather, I feel like you are calling off work a lot. Is there something that I can help you with? To start the conversation, but then also to recognize that me being mad that she's calling off work when she's got legitimate shit going on in her life is my problem. And I need to figure out why that triggers me. And for me, that would have to do, and this is not, like I said, this is not a trigger, but for me, if that were something, it would have to do with the idea that I have always felt very responsible. I've always had to be the one to do everything. And especially the oldest child, all that stuff. I was always the one who had to do everything. So it could be triggering my feeling of always having to carry the responsibility. But by pulling that trigger in me, it gives me the opportunity to address it, to say, okay, I see that. Do the work to let go of why I have that trigger and release the trigger altogether so that if it continues, which hopefully it wouldn't if it was a professional thing, but if it continues, it's no longer triggering me on an emotional basis just based on my reaction to her. You know what I'm saying? It gives back a lot of power to you. When someone is triggering you and you feel like you have no control how you're reacting to someone, there is no power in that. You're giving your power away hand over fist. When you decide, you know what, I'm going to figure out why this is making me so upset and I'm going to work on that and then pull that trigger out, you take the power out of that other person's hand because now they can no longer trigger you. The power is back in your hand with how you respond to what they do. So all of that has to go into that. And I know that she was triggering me more than I triggered her, but I also had a lot more work to do than she did because she's been awake her whole life and I haven't. So it was also about recognizing this is not a competition. When we first started doing this, I would get all up in my feels if people wanted to come see Heather and didn't want to see me. And I'd always question, well, why don't they like me? What is it about me? Trying to find fault with myself instead of just realizing that some people resonate more with her and some people resonate more with me. It has nothing to do with she's better, I'm better. It's not about that. It's not a competition. We're not here to beat each other. We're here to support each other. And so that's another thing that I had to work through, recognizing that it's not because there's something wrong with me. It's just because someone resonates more with her. And that's the best part of this partnership because we are so different. If you come into the center, usually we can tell almost immediately as soon as someone walks in the door. But usually if you don't resonate with me, you will resonate with her. And if you don't with her, you will with me. The people who gravitate to me are people who are science minded. Usually they want to know the explanation. They want to know the nuts and bolts of how stuff works. They want to see all the little intricate stuff. And part of, I don't know if it's a gift, but part of what I do is I'm a teacher. And so I have a good way of putting things into clear explanation for people. Heather is very good at the whole etheric stuff. She's very good at tagging into the energy and pulling information out and just very naturally bringing it forward. She has this beautiful way of explaining things in a more etheric way than I do because I'm such a science-minded person. I want to tell you this screw goes in that hole and you turn it 6 times. Heather's like, you pick the screw with all the sparkles and you put it here, blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. We're just saying it differently. So it just depends on which one you resonate with. You can find the answer here. So that's genuinely one of the things I like the best about this partnership because you can always find commonality somewhere with one of us.
Jessa says, does the twin flame help with the process of healing? 1000%.
It's impossible not to.
Yeah, it's impossible not to. That goes back to the trigger thing. With the triggering Aaron, I will say from my perspective, and I know it was not a walk in the park for her either. Let me tell you that because, you know, it was almost like, and we've grown through this. So we're talking when we first opened, okay? It was almost like daily where I was triggering the shit out of her multiple times a day. Me not knowing what I did.
And not doing anything different than she normally did. She wasn't like doing anything weird. This was just me. This was all me.
Yeah, I was just being my authentic self, right? And so when I would trigger her, what she didn't know was that she was coming into a relationship, platonic relationship with a shapeshifter. A shapeshifter, that's exactly what I am. I trigger and I mirror. So everything that you don't like about yourself, you're going to see in me, and you're not going to like me for that reason. And trust me, this happens all the time. It sucks. It really sucks because there's a lot of people who don't like me because of it, but I understand what it is. But now that you've signed a 2-year lease and you've opened up your business with somebody and all you're doing is hurting their feelings or pissing them off every day and not knowing what you're doing. I really didn't know what I was doing at all. You know what I mean? And she's not wrong. There was that right before she had that huge like light bulb. I'd have to look it up. I'm an alchemist actually. The human design tags me as an alchemist. Not knowing what I did and her not fully understanding like the whole dynamic. And when she says that I was quiet, and I did see your comment, Hallie's like, quiet, yeah, right, whatever. If you saw me here, I am more quiet than I am loud.
Yeah.
I'm a very, we both are. We're both very, very quiet people. We chit chat and we bust balls and we share meals together. We do all that type of stuff. But typically, you know, you would think when the way that we are in here together, when we're here in our center, we're pretty quiet for the most part. So on top of that, I'm also incredibly private. It took her 2 years to get to like really get me to like open up about what's going on with me because I'm always like, I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine. And when it was probably about 1.5 years after we opened, she did come and she was like, Heather, I need to ask you a question. And when she came to me this day, it broke my heart because I didn't understand how deeply wounded she had been because again, I didn't know that I was triggering the shit out of her. I didn't know. She never said anything besides like, I need a timeout. And that was her way of saying, this has nothing to do with you. This has something to do with me and I need to figure it out. But I didn't know that. And so now I was just like, man, like I can't even fart without hurting her feelings. Like I don't know what to do. And it was a legit issue for both of us for some time because I was like, I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to fix this. And her, same thing. I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to fix this. And she came into the center one day and she's like, Heather, I just need to ask you a question. And I go, what's up? And she goes, am I your friend? And I probably looked at her like she had 9 heads. And I was like, yeah, why? And she's like, I don't know, I just feel, and she explained to me her reasonings why she thought that maybe I did not value her or look at her as a friend. But as she continued to grow and do her healing, she realized the gift of the trigger. And that's been a huge thing for her, as well as one of the things that, and you guys, this probably won't shock any of you, but the woman has like half the alphabet behind her name. Okay, I don't know if you guys know that. She is incredibly educated. She's incredibly educated. She is brilliant. She is a natural born teacher. She can dumb the hardest shit down for me to understand. And I'm not talking shit about myself when I say that, but literally, like, she can break it down in a way that I can understand things. That's not an easy task when it comes to like big stuff, okay? She breaks it down and she explains it to me and she doesn't make me feel stupid and she opens it up for questions. That's one of my triggers. And she didn't even know it. When she would try to, and well, she knows now, but at the time she didn't know that when she had to, she does have an amazing, Jessica says, you do have an amazing way with words. When she would explain stuff and she just mentioned this a couple weeks ago about correcting people, that she learned not to correct people. She corrected me all the time because I don't have the same verbiage that she does. So she can use like great words. And I'm just like, that's cool AF. And she's like, that's extravagantly amazing. Like we just talk very, very differently. So when she would correct me, guess what? That was a huge trigger for me because I'm like, she thinks I'm stupid. She thinks I'm stupid that she's explained, like I know what I'm saying, we're just saying it differently. She thinks I'm stupid. And that was a constant trigger for me was it, but I realized after we both had this growth and this healing that it was, I didn't know it was a trigger for me either, and it made me realize, wow, it is not her fault that she's brilliant. And after that light switch went off for me, and she probably picked up on it, I would not shut up about the alphabet behind her name. I would not shut up showing people the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of diplomas and degrees that are on our wall here at the Wellness Center because I became so proud of her. And I lost that insecurity within myself.
Yeah, Mika says, as a teacher, I tend to over-explain, but it's not to offend. Yeah, it's just, and that's exactly what it is. As a teacher, I'm used to breaking it down in more than one way, so that's where that came from. I will tell you a real trigger that happened with Heather and I that had significant growth for me. I don't even know if you know about this one, Heather. So I have not so much lately, but for the first 2 years, let's say, that we were friends, I invited Heather to go out and do stuff with me probably 600 times, and she would never go. And I was never offended that she didn't go. It's just I'd always invite her and she didn't go, and it was okay. And then there was this day that came up where she was going out with these two women that we know that come to the center, and they were going out to see a band or go to a bar or something. They were going to hang out, and I can remember sitting there going, what's wrong with me that you want to hang out with them and you don't like me? Why am I so bad? What's wrong? And I immediately fell into this huge sucking spiral of there's something wrong with me. I'm a terrible person. She must not really like me. Like all these things, like sucking me down this drain. And I did a lot of self-reflection about that. And I started to notice I do that everywhere. If someone says they can't come out with me or they don't want to do something with me, I immediately take it personal and never stopped to consider that they had life going on, right? So it took work to get through that, but I did, and it was so incredibly freeing because now, I mean, if I ask Heather to go do something with me and she says no, I'm like, okay, no big deal. And even if she were to go do something later with somebody on the same day, it doesn't bother me. I'm more excited that she went and did something with somebody and had a good time than I am that she didn't come out with me. And it's permeated to all aspects of my life, my kids, my husband, my other friends. If I'm asking them to do something and they say they don't want to or they can't, I don't take it personally anymore. And it has been incredibly freeing. Because instead of walking around all the time wondering what's wrong with me that people don't want to hang out with me, I stopped doing that. I just said, well, maybe it just didn't work out, because there's been plenty of times where I don't want to go do something with someone that has nothing to do with them. I don't want to go stand in a hot room with a bunch of people I don't know, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that. And it was giving me the perspective of trying to look at things from her side that really changed things. Thank you. Somebody just complimented my hair. Thank you, Joe Dean, with the
That's
best
the
hair.
best hair ever. And yeah, when it, and she, I do remember that I did hurt her feelings, and I was not at a place yet that I was comfortable going out yet. After everything that I've had going on, she tried constantly, and I constantly said no, 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 and then she stopped asking. And then all of a sudden the girls came and they asked me, and I had gone through enough healing that I was like, okay, yes, let's go, so it's amazing how we learn things all the time, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I would love to answer some questions if anyone has any questions as far as human design. So there's a couple people over here on this side asking about human design. Human design is kind of like astrology. It's meant to give you insight into yourself and your life path. I found it to be really, really interesting. I am a manifester on the human design chart. The person I would recommend to you, her name is Maureen Webb, W-E-B-B. We actually know her, and this girl, talk about inspiration. She was a police officer in Chicago. She was injured in the line of duty, right? She was injured in the line of duty, ended up retiring from the police force at a very young age. She's like 30.
Mhm.
sold everything in Chicago and moved to Arizona to open her own human design business. And for me, that was incredibly inspirational. Her name is Maureen Webb. You can find her. I know for sure she's on Instagram. I don't know if she's on TikTok. She might be, but I know for sure she's on Instagram, and I'm sure you can find her website. She's amazing. She's amazing. Tons of info on my makeup. Yes, thank you. I don't actually wear makeup. I don't know if you can tell. I don't wear any makeup, but
Where did Erin start when she had her awakening, like books or resources?
great question. So for me, the first teacher I started with was Ram Dass, Ramdass, and the way I found him was very interesting. I was going to Florida to visit my mom. I was looking for a podcast to download to listen to on the plane. I opened the podcast app on my iPhone, and the Ram Dass podcast is called Here and Now. The whole podcast was downloaded to my phone, not just liked, but saved to my phone. I had never heard of this person. I had no idea where this came from. And I thought, well, it's already on there. I might as well listen to that one. I had no idea what it was about. I get on the plane and I start listening to this, and it was like boom, 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 constant. And he's very, very good. He teaches in the traditional Hindu way, but I learned how to meditate from him. I learned how to quiet my mind from him. I learned about energy from him. And I think something that's important to remember, I think people get caught up in the feeling like they're betraying their teacher or something if they reach out or start following another teacher. That's not a thing. The reason there are so many different kinds of spiritual teachers is because there are so many different kinds of people. You just have to find the teacher that speaks to you and resonates with you the most. I would say 98% of spiritual teachers are all saying the same thing, just in different ways. So you got to find someone who resonates, who says things in a way that makes sense to you. It's also very important that when you get to the point where you feel like you've learned enough from that teacher, or you're done with that teacher, to give yourself permission to move on. You're not dismissing those teachings, you're adding to those teachings. The universe is an and universe. This is an inclusive universe. This is not an or universe. It's about and. It's about, yes, I like this, and there's more. Yes, I understand this, and there's more. Yes, I understand that there's physical illness in the body, and I understand there are vibrational causes to these. Yes, I understand that medicine from the Western world will help me, and I understand that acupuncture and energy work and all those things will also help me. It's a complete picture type thing. So by doing things with all different teachers, you get a bunch of different perspectives, and it can help you make a more clear picture for yourself. The podcast is called Here and Now. Ram Dass passed away years ago, but the podcast is made up of like 20-minute segments of his past lectures. Very digestible, very, very good. His books are all fantastic. Highly recommend him. The other teacher I started with was Christina Lopes, Lopes. She's on YouTube. She was a doctor in the United States, had an incredibly difficult divorce and awakening experience, quit her practice, left everything, moved to Portugal, and became a spiritual teacher. And I resonated with her because of the science, right? That's what drew me in. So I started going down that rabbit hole, and I learned a bunch from her, and she led me somewhere else, who led me somewhere else. It's about following those steps of inspiration that will lead you where you need to go.
Over here, we have Jessa, who says, do you protect yourselves every time you meditate? Yes.
Yes.
We protect ourselves every time we meditate. We protect ourselves before every session. I do. I can't speak for Erin. But before I do any reading or anything like that, I absolutely, especially meditation, and before I go to bed, because I meditate myself to sleep constantly, I stay prayed up.
Yeah. I protect myself throughout the day. I do little dismissing and protection stuff throughout the day. I just want to be really clear. You don't have to pay anybody to come up with a ritual for you. You don't have to do anything super elaborate. Your intention is where your power lies. So if your intention, and you genuinely believe, my intention is that I am going to generate this white light of protection around me, it will keep me safe from anything that would harm me. If your intention is there, then you're protected. Law of attraction, that's how it works. It's what you focus on. If you're focused on I'm protected, then you're protected. Joe Dean said, I say his whole name because I think it sounds like a superhero. So I'm just saying, he knows that. He's heard me say it before, but I'm just letting everybody else know. Joe Dean says, I'm in the midst of awakening. It feels like I'm either 3D or way up in my head. You're not crazy. I promise you're not crazy. Awakening experiences can be really interesting. And by the way, it never stops. Awakening is always moving forward, but it looks like this. You're going to have moments where you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm discovering so much about myself. Wait, nothing's happening. Why is everything saying, oh my gosh, I'm discovering so much about myself. Wait, why is nothing happening? Oh my gosh. You're always moving forward. You're never going backwards, but it is still made up of these ups and downs, moments where you have big revelations and discoveries and healings, and then moments where you don't, where you're just sort of integrating everything and pulling it into your space and letting your cells take it in, because energy is a real thing that affects you on a physical level. It affects your cells, your atoms, how your body functions. It is very, very important. You are made of energy. And so when you are moving forward and upgrading and healing, you are making changes to your physical body. I tell people this a lot. I get more compliments on my hair and my skin now that I'm older than I ever did before my awakening, when I was coloring my hair and putting stuff all over my face and all these things. When I let go of trying to make everybody else happy, it started to come from within. And I get compliments all the time. I get told I don't look my age. My hair looks great. My hair is full of gray. But you know what? I wear it well and I love my hair. And I started to have pride in that. And then it radiates from inside. And I don't need to do that on the outside. So yes.
So real quick, Lila, going through that, I want to encourage you to make sure that you follow Erin. She does a human Schumann or a Schumann report every day about the energy field, and she actually breaks it down every day what your physical feelings might be feeling due to the energies that are shifting in the Schumann. So if you're not following her, make sure you follow her and check out her Schumann videos.
Yeah. And I put a general card reading up at the end of the Schumann too, just to tie in everything. Walks with Dragon says, my awakening sent me to the psychiatrist because I was hearing voices. Now I talk back. Believe me, I get it. Thank you, Sasso. M. Sasso. I appreciate you. Yes, it can make you feel like you're crazy, especially if you're the only one awake around you. That's a really hard place to be. I'll tell you. It's hard to be the only one awake around you because everybody thinks you're nuts and nobody wants to talk to you about what you're going through. I mean, think about before you were awake, what it was like. I mean, just to give you an idea, in my undergraduate degree, which is in psychology, for my big project at the end of the year, I had to write a paper for an abnormal psychology class. I had to choose a fake religion or a cult and write a paper about it, about all the reasons why it was fake or whatever. I chose to write a paper on Doreen Virtue, who years ago was huge in the spiritual field. And she talked about angels and how she could talk to your angels and all this stuff. And I wrote this paper, 10-page paper, and ripped her apart. I cannot even tell you. Pulled every piece of her logic apart, all the stuff that she did. I turned that paper in. I got an A+ on the paper. Fast forward about 10 years later, we open our wellness center. Now I understand all this. Forgot all about that paper. A mentor of ours, we call him Papa John, he walks in and he goes, oh, I have some books for you girls to put on the bookshelf. I was like, oh, great. He hands me, takes the book off the top and hands it. He goes, this one, I think you should read it. I looked down and I kid you not, it was a book by Doreen Virtue. So now I'm standing there and I'm like, well, ain't this a full circle moment? I spent years ago tearing her apart, saying how crazy she was. And here I am excited to read the book because I'm like, she knows so much, like it's very much that feeling of, am I losing my mind? Am I crazy? What is this? Especially if you have a deep root in science, it can be hard to make that turn into this side of things. But it, again, is not about it's one or the other. It's both. It's learning to find them in balance. And Heather, I just noticed something I just want to point out. You know how we're twin flames and we're so opposite?
Mm-hmm.
Your background's white?
Huh. I love it. Papa John, no, not like the pizza guy. Thank you for the.
He's way better than the pizza guy.
He's amazing. He is.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to do the aura photos with the chakra analysis. He's the one who also certified me in intuitive counseling. He's a huge mentor of ours, and he's been around the block for many, many moons. What's up, Marcel? So with the ups and downs, moments of just numbness. Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, just before 20s, Doreen Virtue no longer believes in her work. I do know, and I think it's ironic that I was the one tearing her apart, and now I believe what she was saying, and she doesn't. I think that's interesting. Joe Jean, Heather and I are twin flames. We are not biological twins, we are twin flames. A non-romantic twin flame relationship. We wanted to come on and show you this. And I do believe very, very strongly you can have more than one twin flame. I also believe you can have more than one soulmate. I also believe that soulmates are not always romantic. I believe the way it was shown to me in meditation when I asked about soulmates for clarity, the way it was shown to me is your soulmate is your soft landing place. The person who accepts you no matter what for exactly who you are. They're not triggering. I mean, they might trigger you a little bit, but they're not there to trigger you. They're there for you to be the soft landing place when you're recovering from the triggering that's happening with your twin flame, right? Twin flames, while they can be romantic, if it is a romantic relationship, every single one I have ever experienced, like been exposed to, has been contentious in some way. There's a lot of apart together, apart together, apart together, because you're constantly triggering each other. Opposites attract. Yes, that's yeah. Suzanne said Paula Abdul's "Opposites Attract" is
Absolutely.
your theme song. Yes, right. See, Cherry just pointed out opposite. She has a V-neck shirt and you have a circle high neck shirt. Yep, exactly. Right. We do everything very opposite. Our tattoos, our sleeves, opposite arms. Nose piercing, opposite side.
Yep. Did you, Shan? I'm so sorry to hear that still.
So Samantha is asking, does everyone meet their twin flame? I don't know the answer to that question. My feeling on that is that everyone has the opportunity to meet their twin flame. I think it's completely up to you whether you follow up on that. Like if I had not stepped out of my comfort zone and gone to talk to Heather, I would not have met her that day. So I think the opportunity is presented to you. Kind of like the idea with the universe gives you the ingredients to make the cake. It's still up to you to take those steps. I'd never recommend to people to go look for their twin flame or their soulmate, because what happens when you do that is you put a feeling of lack in your energy because you're looking for them because you feel like you don't have them and you want them. So you build up this feeling of lack, and lack is one of the hardest things to get around when you're trying to manifest something. I always tell people, if you want to find your soulmate, the best thing you can do for yourself is enjoy your life, like yourself, enjoy who you are, be unapologetically yourself, because you don't want to attract someone to you that you have to change who you are for. So be unapologetically who you are and just put it out there and they will find you. I think everyone has the opportunity. It's just up to you whether you take it or not.
Real quick over here, Nana of the World, which is our Squirrely Squirrel's wifey.
Hello, Squirrely Squirrel's wifey.
Yes. Thank you for the hand hearts. Thank you so much. She said, can someone please explain triggering? I don't understand this concept. So for triggering, basically it's something in the here and the now. Like right now, if I were to look at Aaron and just be like, oh, what is a good example? What did I trigger you with?
Well, I'm going to give you a different trigger. A good example of what a trigger is when you see behavior in someone else that makes you angry. So for example, one of my biggest triggers is if I call a business to get some information and I have to go through an automated system, it sets me off, because to me, it triggers the feeling of not being heard. It triggers the feeling of not being able to get help when I need it. So it's the idea of triggering some sort of trauma or hurt within you because it's reflected by the other person's actions. Mm-hmm. Is the best way I know how.
Yes, and just sometimes, like, if there are different things that that you do, for example, me being very, very quiet, right? So something that makes you angry, right? So me being very, very quiet person, and her being one to share, right? Like, again, opposites, complete opposites. When she would ask me questions about, like, personal stuff, and not that she was wrong, like, she's one of my closest friends, but me being who I am, I would just be like, okay, bye. And I just don't answer. I will skirt and I will dance around it. It triggered her because it was something in her that one is she's not comfortable with, two, possibly that it comes from her childhood of her asking questions and not getting answers from either authority, parents, teachers, whatever that looks like. And it reminded her of something from before that was previous to me, that I sparked that memory in her. And that is what we call a trigger. So I triggered something in her that was not quite healed yet. Like, hey, not everybody has to, thank you for the follow, not everybody has to answer my questions. being a person who gives answers, like Erin, you know, she's a teacher. She answers, and I'm very much so the opposite, where I'm like, yeah, I'll share what I want.
Right. And as a teacher, I expect an answer because that's what I'm used to. I ask a student a question, I expect an answer. And for Heather, she doesn't work that way. I get a lot of one word answers, which is fine now, but it took me a while to get used to that, you know?
Hey, Heather, how are you? Good.
Mika, you're right. Mika was like, I just keep yelling representative. That's what I do. I get mad. I'm like, representative. And then the person, by the time the poor person gets on the phone, I almost always start with an apologies. I'm sorry. I know this is not your fault, but I'm very angry right now, you know?
Does anybody have any more questions? Monique too. And you're welcome, Nana. I'm glad that you feel free. This is the time to ask any of those types of questions that you have. I give one word answers too, but it's because I've been hurt by my honesty. Oh, hi. Welcome to my world. That's very much so why I answer the way that a lot of times I answer the way that I answer. In addition, I answer that way too because I know that I'm not easy to understand. And so therefore, when I explain stuff and people don't understand me, what does that do? That triggers me to go, I must be stupid. They don't understand what I'm saying. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. And I understand that now. It just took me a long time to get there. That, like, again, when we attract different people, people will understand me and people will understand her in different ways. So oftentimes, like, if people, like, you could tell Erin's an explainer, right? So like if you ask her a question, you're getting like a full 90-minute answer on that thing. You know what I mean? Me, I'm just like, that's right. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. Like I'm very blunt and to the point, and I don't give very much explanation unless, like, Nana asks me specifically for a specific answer on a specific subject. Even if it's in regards to me, I will then answer it in length. What are you most proud of in this journey that you've taken together? This business.
Yeah.
This business,
It's a hell of a lot of work. I just want you guys to know it's a hell of a lot of work to run a business.
yeah.
And we bust our ass for this place. We give up a lot for this place, but it is also our dream. So it's like I'm happy to give it up.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, and you know, and Erin may or may, you know, I'm just gonna say it. We're still very new at our business. We've only been open 2.5 years, so we're both volunteers here still. So every minute that we are in this wellness center, all of the clients that we see, all of the virtual clients that we see, it's just paying our overhead at this point. We are still in growth mode. However, we are both passionate about what we do. Would we like to be much busier? Yes, we would. We would love it, but we're not there yet. But it's definitely this business that owning your own business, doing what you are called to do, that you didn't even know that you were called to do, and standing in your purpose is what makes me my most proud.
Yeah. Question over here from the Divine Miss H. Perhaps you've answered this already. Does anti-anxiety or anti-depression drugs block me? So my experience with this is it may not block you from connection, but it can make it difficult for me to make a connection. When I am working with people who are on a lot of medications, I get a lot of static. And so I'm weeding through the static to get the message. I don't think there's anything wrong with medication. I think if you need it, you need it. But I don't think it keeps you from connecting, but it makes it harder for me to connect. I don't know how it is for Heather, but it makes it harder for me to connect. And then the other question was, how many energy sessions do you do in a day? For me, my sessions are about an hour long. I can only probably do 4 a day. Because I also do 15 card readings every single morning. And while that doesn't sound like a lot, it's a lot of energy to do a card reading. I'm constantly pouring energy out of me for 2 hours nonstop. When I get off of my live in the morning, I'm done. I'm done with cards for at least 2 to 3 hours. I have to recharge and pull myself back together. So I can do four energy sessions a day. 15 readings up to 20 readings a day, depending on the day. It just depends on how I'm feeling.
Here we have Christina. I've been experiencing strange feelings followed by shaking the past couple of days. Could this be a push of energy? Yes, 100% yes. Pumpkin says, my anxiety medication makes it so that I'm not as overwhelmed by what's coming in. Sorry, I didn't. Good evening, Tony. Mayo, what do you do if you're struggling with identity and purpose? You meditate and you actually look at yourself, and I would suggest that you create a list for yourself. Thank you for the follow. Create a list for yourself. What makes you smile? What makes you happy? What gives you hope? What makes you feel good service-wise, doing for not only for yourself, receiving, or what you can do for other people? For me, I get a full-on lady boner every time I help someone do inner child nourishment or regression work, because I know that we just cracked a big part of the egg open, and now their healing is just going to fully ooze, and they're just going to move forward with it. So you really just want to spend time with myself. What brings me joy? What makes me happy? This is such a hard thing, especially in our society today, because we have all been so trained and programmed that it is selfish to do and think for ourselves and what we want and what we don't want. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. If we cannot make ourselves happy, then how can we make anybody else happy?
I want to answer just a few questions because I'm going to have to run here soon. Dee is asking, what would you suggest to get attachments to leave you alone? So here's the thing, Dee. Law of attraction is real. I don't believe in curses. So law of attractions don't work on me, or curses don't work on me.
Same.
If someone comes up to you and says, I curse you, and you walk around going, oh my God, I'm cursed, I'm cursed, I'm cursed, then law of attraction has no choice but to show you reflections of ways that make you feel cursed. If someone comes up to you and says, you're cursed, and you go, no, I'm good, and you walk away, law of attraction has nothing to work with on their end. Curses work because they get in your head. You have all the power to your energy. You are 100% in total control of your energy. And it is only because you allow yourself to think you're not that these things will attach to you. I promise you, 100% guarantee, and I'm sure Heather will tell you the same, when you decide I'm in charge, then you can get rid of anything that you're holding on to, because I promise you, you're holding on to it because you feel like you deserve it. Someone gave it to you. You can't get rid of it. But the power is in your hands. It's always in your hands. Let's see, what else we got here?
I got a great question over here too.
Yeah, go ahead.
For both of us, what has been the hardest part of trusting your gifts, and how did you overcome them?
So for me, the hardest part of my gift is doing card readings, because for my whole life, I thought they were fake. I didn't believe them. And then when I started being called to read them, I bought a ton of decks and couldn't get anything out of them. So I lost a lot of confidence. And then when I did start reading, I was asking for validation so often that I would say something and go, does that make sense? Stop. Does that make sense? Stop. Does that make sense? And every time I do that, if the person said no, it would shake my confidence. And I would get shaken like out of my channel. When I'm reading cards, I'm in a channel. I'm pulling information down as it comes out. When I disconnect from your reading, I'm not going to remember anything I told you. Just know that. So if I'm constantly asking, does this make sense? Does this make sense? It knocks me out of my channel. So I finally had to decide, okay, I had to sit down and say, what is it about my readings that makes me so anxious? Well, I'm anxious because what if I'm wrong? Well, what if I'm right? What if I'm right all the time? So what I did was I stopped asking for validation, because I'm not going to change what I say based on your ability to understand it or not. I can only tell you what I'm receiving, and I'm not going to make anything up. So I just started offering exactly what I'm receiving, and I trust that what you need to hear will resonate with you. And I have not many, but I have some people who during their reading, they might feel like they don't understand, or I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. Without exception, 100% of the time, I will get a message from that person within a few days saying, oh my gosh, you have no idea. I figured it out. This is what it was. Oh my gosh, But it took a lot of stop asking other people, if it makes sense. It was all me having to listen to myself and have enough trust in what I'm receiving to put it out there. Because I had to start asking myself, am I making it up? No, I'm not. It's coming in. I can't make it. This is just how it is,
I would say the same for me. It was to stop questioning it and just spitting it. That's why oftentimes, if you guys, when you catch me doing my readings in the evenings on Saturday nights, I will start out the way it drops for me is they just start dropping words, as well as when we do, I do little sage readings here. is I tell people, this is not going to make sense to me. I'm not going to understand what I'm saying to you, but you're going to understand what I'm saying to you. So once we both got that light bulb, like this doesn't have to make sense to us, we're just the messenger, that it will make sense to them, and we stopped holding back and biting our tongue on certain things. All of a sudden it was like, that's why people always say, like, I have a gift of making people cry. I do. I make people cry all the time because I stopped questioning, is this going to hurt their feelings or is this going to that? And and I'm telling you, if your spirit team comes in hot, I'm delivering that message the way that I'm receiving it, because if they come in with an attitude, I'm going to give you the attitude, because you need to hear it the way that they're saying it. But as soon as you just got to get out of your own way and just trust, I'm receiving. Is this a thought or am I receiving? They're different but similar.
It just takes practice to get to know which is which too. Yeah,
Christina,
Megan
with
says,
that,
as the messenger, you're not responsible for what the person does or doesn't do with the message, 100%.
with that energy, what I would try to do, Christina, is you could do an Epsom salt scrub, where you just get in the shower, put a bunch of Epsom salt and scrub it all over your body. That can help diffuse some of the energy as well if you're already doing grounding. And then meditate. Meditate as much as you possibly can.
And remember, meditation is different for everybody. You don't have to get too in your head about what a meditation needs to look like, right? Not everybody has the mindset where they can sit in a dark room and calm their mind. I can't. When I started meditating, I started with guided meditations, and I did guided meditations for 6 to 8 months before I finally moved from guided meditations to sitting with music playing. And then I moved after 6 to 8 months of that, of sitting by myself. It is a slow process because we are programmed to constantly be busy in our minds. So you have to find a way to quiet that.
Monique says, sorry, I have a bunch of questions over here. Is trying to remember early childhood memories similar to doing a child regression? No. Your memories are your memories. A child regression is typically a traumatic event that I walk you back in space and time. I make you watch it and relive it just for a moment. And then we empower and we do a lot of healing during that time. And then at the end of it, that child is that part of your childhood is healed.
Yeah.
What does it mean when you close your eyes to meditate and you see clouds and colors?
I think it's a personal thing. All the images you receive in meditation are personal to you. I'm not going to know what they mean for you. Samantha wants to know, is channeling the same as claircognizance? Kind of no, kind of yes. For me, channeling is I get an urgent thought in my head that I cannot contain. It comes out of nowhere. Like when I'm reading cards, it's a stream of thoughts that come into my head that I have to say. If I get a channeled message when I'm doing something else, it's an intense need to write it down. I cannot not write it down. Like I got a message in the shower one time. I literally had shampoo in my hair. I got out of the shower, shampoo all over my face, all over the floor, all over everything. And I'm talking in my phone, trying to get this message out as quickly as possible. And also with channeling, for me, it comes in and goes out. 5 seconds after it's gone, I am not going to remember what I said. I'm not going to remember. It's a channel. It's like a straw. It goes in and out. With claircognizance, Heather is more into that than I am, but it's just a knowing. Like someone asked you, how far away is Pizza Hut, and you somehow just know it's 3.8 miles. You just know it. There's no way for you to know where it came from. You just know it. And that can be frustrating sometimes because people will ask me something and I'll give them an answer and they're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, I don't know. I just know. Well, how do you know? Well, I don't know. I just know, It can be very difficult to explain that.
Yes, Rachel, your readings can change based on the person's choices, and people forget that, as well as their mood and things that are going on, especially the way that we both channel. Was your family always supportive of your guys' gifts, and how do you stand in your power? No, my family was not at all supportive. To this day, they are not fully supportive of what I do, and not to get too deep into it. However, I was raised religious, and so I was told by my mother from my first premonition. I was 2.5. I was told by my mother not to speak about it and not to tell anybody, so much to the point that I had shut it down. And then later in life, I became very, very religious. I became a born-again Christian, and all I ever learned while I was in there was that the things that my abilities and the things that I was able to do were dark and evil, and that I was going to hell if I practiced them. So I did everything in my power to shut off the messages that I possibly could, because I did not want to go to hell because of my abilities. And then when I finally stood in my power, I realized that, and I don't want to go on a soapbox with this, but I realized that there's nothing in the Bible that says that I'm evil or I'm dark. It's just the way that the teachings have been, the way the teachers are teaching the word. They put their own spin on it, and ultimately God gave us our gifts. Whether you believe in it, whatever you call your person, I'm an omniist. I believe that all religion has some sort of truth to it. I don't think that one is the one and only way. I believe that they all have truth within them. And that was where, when I finally stood in my power, as well as also understanding I cannot block my gift anymore because it was making me sick. When you deny such a huge part of yourself, it will make you sick. What does sick look like? Depression, anxiety, eating disorders, all of those different types of things. So standing in my power was the biggest gift that I gave to myself. Now, it cracks me up because I have family members who I see on like Facebook that are in these other psychic groups asking people for information in a reading, and yet they won't even come to their own family member. It's a pride thing.
So for me, I didn't really like announce it to anybody. I just started putting my stuff out there. My husband does not believe in, I mean, he's slowly picking around the edges, but he doesn't believe in this. My husband is not religious. He doesn't believe in this. It's kind of funny. People ask him, what does your wife do? And I can always see it on his face. He goes, she's a content creator. And they go, what kind of content? And he goes, space magic. I don't know. Go look. I don't know. That's how he explains it. My family, as much as possible, is supportive. They don't ask me about it. I have a sister-in-law. My husband's twin brother is married to a woman who's very religious, and I have not, since I started doing this, I have not been invited to any of their family functions. And when I was think about it, I really do feel like it's because I don't think she wants to have to. I don't necessarily think it's her, but I think it's her insecurity. She doesn't want to have to explain what I do to her family or her friends because it would open a whole box and it would be very uncomfortable for her. I have to go soon. My battery is literally going to die.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate you. And Mika said something that was really good. I want to go back to it. She said, religion is only rules, ladies and gents. It's important to have a relationship with your, capital your source. Yes, personal relationship always, 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 always.
Agreed.
All right, so I have to go because my phone is flashing,
Yeah.
so I gotta go.
Right.
I just want you guys to know the replay for this will be on my YouTube channel probably sometime tomorrow. So if you wanted to rewatch it, you can always go to my YouTube channel and find it. I love your face, Mika. I want to thank everyone for being here with us this evening. It has been so fun, and hopefully we can do it again sometime. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Anything you want to add, Heather?
No, if anybody has, I am not in a huge hurry, so if anybody else, we love you, has any questions, you are welcome to come over here and ask me questions. I can hang out for about another 15, 20 minutes before I head home.
Yeah, go over and ask her some questions.
All the things. Ask me all the things.
Sunny, I know you said you missed it. It'll be on YouTube. The replay will be on YouTube sometime tomorrow. So check it out. All right, you guys, it was so good to see everybody. Thank you so much. I will see you on the flip side.
Just.